איתנו פרופסור ניקולאי פטרובסקי. פרופסור פטרובסקי הוא מבית הספר לרפואה ולבריאות הציבור באוניברסיטת פלנדרס באוסטרליה. Good morning, sir.
Good morning from Australia.
Professor Petrovsky, more and more scientists are asking to what? To investigate the roots of the virus?
Yes, so there's always been unusual features about this virus that suggested maybe it's not a natural virus. And of course, the other possibility is that this virus was created in a laboratory, most likely in China, because that's where the pandemic started. So scientists really just want to know the answer to that question.
Professor Petrovsky, what is your motivation? What is our interest in knowing the origin of the pandemic?
Of course, if we don't know the origin of this pandemic, we can't stop a similar pandemic occurring in the future. So it's extremely important that we find out the source of this virus so that we can stop it happening again.
So it's important for the next pandemic.
Yes, so pandemics are actually, a regular occurrence through human history, unfortunately. So this is unfortunately not going to be the last pandemic we see. And obviously we would like to know how this one started so that we can plan and try and prevent another one happening in the near future.
Yeah, Professor, there are two questions. You mentioned before that there are signs in this virus that made it so, strange and different. If you can emphasize on that, I would be happy. And the other question is, how many scientists? I mean, it's all over the globe. It's becoming a wave of scientists coming and requesting this investigation.
Yes, so there are a number of unusual features about this virus, some of which we identified through our research, and then other researchers have identified other unusual features of the virus. One of those features is this virus, from the very first time it entered the human population that we're aware of in December last year, 2019, in China, it was already extremely capable of infecting humans and also transmitting between humans. And that's unusual. Normally a pandemic virus, even if it does infect a few humans, finds it hard to transfer between humans in the earliest months, and then it will adapt and get better at doing that. In this case, the virus we showed was extremely well adapted for human transmission from the very first case. The other unusual features about the virus are its genetic structure. There's some features in this virus that make it quite lethal, particularly an enzyme site we call the furin cleavage site in the attachment receptor of the virus. And we don't see that particular genetic signature in any closely related coronavirus. And that's very unusual. It's a little bit like two white parents having a black baby.
So
it does make you ask, is there something happening here that we're not aware of?
So, Professor Petrovsky, these days your assumption is that COVID-19 was created in a lab in China, especially as times go by?
Look, we can't say. Our research just opens up that possibility that this virus was not completely natural, that it may have escaped from a laboratory. But of course, we can't definitely answer that question. It's just that we, at the moment, no one knows where this virus came from. So one possibility is it came from nature by natural transmission, although we haven't been able to find the virus in nature. The other possibility is that, this virus is man-made in some way.
Yeah.
As I say, our research can't actually answer each of those questions. It just says both are possible.
Interesting. So one last question, Professor, regarding the general condition and situation in Australia these days. How are you doing?
So Australia has probably, done the best in the world in terms of minimizing deaths from this virus over the last 12 months. You know, we had a very early outbreak in March last year that was brought under control. In fact, we eradicated the virus from the whole of Australia, and it's only been reintroduced by people flying in from countries who are infected. And that's unfortunate. You know, with all our outbreaks have come out of quarantine hotels. So there's a major problem in our quarantine process that the government desperately needs to fix. And of course, we currently have an outbreak of the Delta variant, you know, which is extremely difficult variant to control. It's much more transmissible than any of the other variants. And so having it in our community right now is concerning people because the vast majority of Australians are not yet vaccinated. So if it does get into our aged care facilities, it's going to be a terrible problem.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for talking with us from Australia this morning. We'll be in touch later to see how it evolves, all this investigation.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Professor.